Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. As we watch low pressure in the southeast, some severe weather going around, some severe weather fun facts coming up too, and we might even sneak a look at the long range. That's all coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, and they are asking you the very important question: do you got mulch? Because if you don't, you got to head over
You
to.
got mulch? Wait
Uh,
a minute. What kind of English is that, Joe?
you got
Do you
mulch?
got mulch?
You got mulch? Yeah. Yeah. Well, they got mulch. They got tons of mulch, all
All right.
different colors,
Yeah.
and plenty in stock, and more coming, along with everything you need to get your yard in tip-top shape for this coming spring. So head over to Omni, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. The lowest prices around. These days, it's good to have somebody that's producing the lowest prices. They are serving the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area. Whether you're an individual or you're a contractor, give them a buzz. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. And as we all know, the website is.
OmniTrueValue.com.
Now, Mr. Rayo, we were talking last night about the Storm Prediction Center and how they had something in on their day 8. Well,
Yes.
they watch this. You know that the folks at the Storm Prediction Center are glued to YouTube, watching our show religiously. And they provided some fun facts. Okay. Now, did you know, Mr. Rayo, that since 2012, they have only had 6 instances where they have put something on the day 8 forecast, and the last time that they did that was 3 years ago in 2019. So it is indeed a rare event, and I guess the reason why we didn't notice it was because, well, I mean, we've been doing it longer than 3 years, but uh, regularly now, at least for the last 3 years. And I guess it must have happened before we were doing it on a day to day basis. So it is very rare for them to put it up that early. And in fact, there was a Google story. When I went to Google today, their news story, they had a news story about SPC putting on. So even Google watches the the algorithms at Google watch this show religiously.
Amazing. Yeah, I haven't. We said last night I could not offhand, off the top of my head, remember when they went as far out as 8 days. I've always said to myself, they have a 4 to 8 day outlook. The longest out I could remember up until yesterday was 6 days, and 4 is becoming more and more commonplace now. It's still experimental, but in any case, as you pointed out last night, Joe, if they put something up for 8 days down the road, they must really, really feel confident of that event. And all I could say is to whomever is in that, and today obviously it's day 7, who's ever in that zone, and that's down in the southeastern part of the country, maybe you should really batten the hatches down, because something that is evident and pronounced like a week in advance certainly would appear to be something that's going to be very potent when we get closer into that. Let's say sometime at the start of next week.
Right. Well, and in fact, that's one of the reasons why they say they do it, is because they want to at least give a heads up to officials and people that have storm shelters and that kind of storm shelters or shelter places that they have in various towns, to at least give them a heads up that something might be cooking down the road, so give them a little bit of lead time. And you know what? If it doesn't happen, they're happy, which is how you're supposed to approach most weather events that are extreme. I know the weather
Right.
geeks, some weather geeks may think otherwise, but when it comes to things that are potentially destructive and life-threatening, it is far better to hope for for it not to happen than to stand around playing cheerleader. Because frankly, if you're standing around playing
Yeah.
cheerleader for a disaster, you're not going to be a very popular person.
Yeah. Well, it's even now. if there's a big storm coming, I know every once in a great while somebody on Facebook, for example, say something like, "Is that you guys are really hoping for something, right? You guys must really be excited about this. You guys, yeah, you guys." I didn't know I was one of the you guys people, but um, I don't know when it turned for you, Joe. But with me, you own a house, you have a wife, you have a couple of kids, you're surrounded. Well, not surrounded, but three-fourths of your house is rimmed by 50 to 75-foot trees. You've got a very long driveway. So when you deal with potential heavy snow or potential damaging winds or potential anything of that nature, the last person who would want to see something happen of significant disaster or cataclysm is yours truly. I know back in the beginning, when we were getting involved with this field of meteorology, back in the days when we used to sit by our radio and listen to Gordon Barnes and Dr. Joel Myers and hoping for some kind of major weather event. But that was then. This is now. And I don't particularly care anymore for any kind of major disruption to our lifestyle. So if it comes, I guess we have to deal with it. But I personally, in times like what we're into now, I personally hope we don't have to deal with stuff like that.
Right, and the chairman Scott Burler just hitting super chat to tell us that the current snow cover in the U.S. is 17%. And yes, the fat lady is stepping up to the microphone to sing her aria. And in some places of the country that she's already has sung her aria. In others, she's waiting for her cue. And still others, she's still on the way. So location is
Yeah,
everything. But suffice to say, at this point, I don't care. I don't care what the pattern looks like in the long range. Uh, we're at March 16th. That's always been sort of the line in the sand for me. Like, I know St. Patty's Day. Anything after that, it really has to set up perfectly in order for it to happen. So it's a big dice roll from here on in. And so if something does happen, it happens, and then it's gone within a day or two anyway. So right now, there's nothing in the cards in the short range. There's a few things going on in the long range that we'll take a look at that will probably at least keep things from getting warm or too warm, other than the odd day here and there. We'll take a look at those. Joe Rayo's monitoring the chat board tonight, as he always does. And if you got any questions or comments, of course, share by all means on the chat board, and we'll hopefully be able to get to them. And also, if you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome aboard and welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Hope you like it. If you do, hit the like button. And you can subscribe using your Gmail account so that this way you get notifications that the Joe and Joe Weather Show is coming on. And I pinned a link on the on the chat tonight, so just to let everybody know that there is additional weather available. If you go to my YouTube channel, and I've got it up on the screen right now, if you go to my YouTube channel and you click on the community tab, you will get well, all my weather posts from my website. I'm putting up links to it, along with other things that are important. So if you want to read more, just go to the community tab on the website, and you can leave comments, likes, or whatever you'd like to do. So that's one extra added feature that we have placed here. So speaking of the Storm Prediction Center, why don't we go ahead and take a look at what they're doing? And this way I'm trying to keep the signal stable. It seems to be working tonight a bit better than it did yesterday, a lot better than it did yesterday. The Storm Prediction Center tonight is monitoring some severe weather. They've got a severe thunderstorm watch up for central Florida. You see it there outlined in the blue, and there's some activity going on the radar. The slight risk extends into parts of southeast Georgia and South Carolina. The marginal risk goes back into uh, Georgia and then northeastward into North Carolina. It looks like there's some shower and thunderstorm activity to my southwest that's moving east northeast. I've got some sun, but I can see darker clouds off on the horizon behind the mountains in the southern sky. So that's probably some of the echoes that you see there. So let's take a look at where they're going in the next few days. Now, this is their risk area for uh, Thursday and Friday. So they are looking at a slight risk Thursday into early Friday morning. So they've got slight risk in much of Louisiana, southern Mississippi going northwest into northeastern Texas and southern Oklahoma. And they got a chance of thunderstorms for the Delmarva Peninsula to southern New Jersey, down into northeastern North Carolina and southern Florida. For their day 3 outlook, and this is going to carry us from Friday into Saturday, they've got a fairly large area of marginal risk from the eastern part of North Carolina, much of South Carolina and Georgia, and then you see the marginal risk goes up into Kentucky and Ohio, southern Indiana, and clips the states of Indiana, uh, the southern parts of Indiana, Illinois, and into Missouri, northeastern Arkansas. Slight risk, southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi, the western part of the Florida Panhandle, southernmost Alabama, and a little sliver of southwest Georgia. And now we'll take a look at the long range here for day 4 through 8. So day 4, they have a small area of slight risk. This is Saturday into Sunday morning for coastal North and South Carolina. Day 5, potential too low. Day 6, this is Monday into Tuesday. They have a 15% risk being indicated in eastern Texas and western Louisiana. So SPC is telling you to pay attention. Day 7, which was yesterday's day 8, is shifted east, and now they have a 15% or slight risk in southeast Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and into Alabama. And on the day 8, they have predictability too low, which means that it's possible there'll be some severe weather. They're just not confident enough at this point to put up a risk zone. So uh, busy, busy, busy for SPC in the coming days, it seems.
Yes, it does. And again, you want to keep track of what is going on across, especially the southeastern states for next week, because if they've been ballyhooing this or red flagging this, 7-8 days in advance, by the time we get to within a few days, Joe, who knows? It may not just be slight risk down there. It may actually be enhanced risk. Is anything higher than enhanced? Is there anything higher than that on their rating scale?
No, not on the long range. Not
Moderate?
on the long range. No, not on the long range.
No, I understand the long.
Oh yeah, there's moderate.
But I mean, if we get like within 2 or.
I'm sorry, there's moderate and then there's high risk.
I don't think they would, 2 or 3 days in advance. I don't think they would put a high or moderate risk.
No.
But certainly on the day of, they, if this pans out the way I think they're thinking of, we just might see moderate or high next week, and that's an area that is well acquainted with quite a bit of activity. Are you in that, Joe? Are you in that near that area?
It's to my south.
On state day 7. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this all pans out for moi, for you.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen that they might have the enhanced risk show up on their day 2 forecast, and every once in a while you'll see it on the day 3. I don't remember seeing a moderate on the day 2 or the day 3. The day of, yes, and it probably makes sense because waiting for the actual day of something that looks like it's going to be a big severe weather producer, it's probably a good idea to wait till the actual day to make sure all the dynamics are in place, because sometimes it does look that way, and then you get to the actual day and some things, maybe the daytime heating doesn't look as impressive, maybe the inflow doesn't look as impressive, maybe the lift isn't as impressive. So it gives them a little bit room to maneuver from that respect. Radars are quiet in the Northeast, but we are seeing some rain down in southwestern Virginia and in the western half of North Carolina, north and west of I-95. Seeing even some heavier downpours there, and also some heavier showers down along the coast near Wilmington, northeast to about Cape Hatteras. In Georgia, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 severe thunderstorm warnings in play right now, and there's an area, Joe, just going through Atlanta of heavy showers and maybe a rumble or two of thunder. That looks like it's moving to the north. So That's probably what I'm seeing with some of those darker clouds. We had some rain overnight, on and off, and then it moved out this morning. The sun came out, brought temperatures up into the 60s. So we'll see if these thunderstorms, these showers, and maybe possible thunderstorms hold up. In Florida, most of the activity now is offshore, so that severe thunderstorm watch is probably going to expire. You see a couple of special marine warnings that are up, and there's one severe thunderstorm warning that's up right along the coast north of Daytona Beach, and extending with the special marine warning that goes with it. Meanwhile, we are also seeing a little bit of snow back in parts of Nebraska and into Colorado, up and down I-25. Some snow showers and some areas of snow north and west in parts of Wyoming and Montana. And it looks like at the moment some waves of showers coming in to the Pacific Northwest. WPC, our friends at
Don't
WPC.
forget that W, Joe.
No,
Yes.
I never. WPC has a very
Yeah.
large area of 2 to 3 inches of rain for the next 7 days in the lower Mississippi Valley, and 1 to 2 inch rains extending as far north as the lower lakes and into the upper Mississippi Valley. Here in the Northeast and northern Mid-Atlantic states, we're looking at, looks like they're generating anywhere between 3/4 of an inch to an inch, inch and a quarter from North Carolina all the way up into Maine. And that also extends down into southern Georgia and down off the into the Gulf Coast, off the coast, and also some big amounts in terms of precip in Colorado and eastern Colorado, some 2 inch plus 2 inch plus liquid amounts, and some of that's going to be in the form of snow there. And up in the northwest, in western Washington and northwestern Oregon, anywhere from 1 to maybe as much as 4 inches of rain being indicated for that particular area. By the way, as far as watches and warnings are concerned, overall today, we're not really seeing a whole lot. It's one of those days where the maps are pretty quiet. We've got some winter storm warnings up in parts of Colorado, and I think that might include Denver. I'm going to take a look with some winter weather advisories on either side. So why don't we take a look and see what they're doing there in the great state of Colorado? And that's the Boulder office. So Denver is in a winter storm warning. Winter storm warning in effect for Denver. And they're 51 right now. So let's take a look what their forecast is. I don't
You
know.
know, at this time of the year, I think they would have had Coors Field open for baseball, or getting ready to open Coors Field for baseball at the end of this month. And it always seems ridiculous to me that they would actually attempt to try to play the great summer pastime in Denver so early in the baseball season because of stuff that is happening, like what's happening right now with the potential for a winter storm.
Yeah, they're going for 3 to 5 tonight. They have rain developing and rain changing, which is doing right now. Rain changing over to snow between 7 and 9 p.m. their time, and then all snow after 9 p.m. The snow could be heavy at times. Lows around 30, northwest winds 5 to 10 with gusts to 16, 3 to 5 inches of new snow, and then snow tomorrow with a high of 39. Low tonight 30, high tomorrow 39. Chance of precip is 90%. Additional snow accumulation of 1 to 3. So they're going for 4 to 8. Then Thursday night a low
That's
of
lovely.
right. Then Thursday night a low of 20. Friday mostly sunny and a high of 51. 26 Friday night. Saturday 57. Sunday 62. 34. Rain and snow likely Monday 45. Blah blah blah. So you get the idea. But they are going to get some snow tonight per the National Weather Service.
Yes.
I'm gonna.
Okay. Well,
Okay, that's all. Um,
that's all.
let's all. I'm gonna let the snow map load. Let's see if I can look at what kind of amounts are being generated nearby. This may take a bit, but while it's doing that, we can switch over to our own issues and look at all those 70s for today. Did you get to 70 today or no?
No. We got to about 64 degrees today. It was lovely out there. It was very nice. Could be even nicer. You look at the the so-called luck of the Irish, Joe, whenever they have the St. Patrick's Day parade, which we're going to have again down Fifth Avenue, or is it up Fifth Avenue tomorrow? And you see how beautiful it was today. Friday could be the pick of the week. I mean, I went for sunshine and highs of 67 to 72 degrees here in the Hudson Valley. Be a lovely day for a parade on Friday. What was it? 65? 65, according to the executive producer.
Oh, bless
So,
her heart.
but it'll be even nicer on Friday. It was a lovely day. Would have been a great day to have a parade today. But sadly, I think tomorrow, Joe, here in the tri-state area, we'll be looking at anywhere from 2 to 4 tenths of an inch of precipitation. And the majority of that, let's say maybe about a tenth of an inch, will fall up until the lunch hour. And I usually have my lunch just after 12 o'clock. And after that, it looks like from then on through the rest of the day, another 2 or 3 tenths of an inch. I mean, it's not going to be a heavy rain. We're not expecting thunderstorms. We're not expecting windswept conditions, but it is going to rain tomorrow. And it is going to be cooler, probably in the mid and low 50s. So it's not going to be the greatest of days for a parade, but still, they parade in whatever weather happens. And that will be the case probably tomorrow as well.
The snow amounts, by the way, for Denver, they've got a 6 sitting there. Colorado Springs 3, but in some of the peaks to the west, 13 just west of Colorado Springs, 16 to the west of Denver. Boulder at 7, and then there's a spot to the northwest of Longmont, Colorado, 16. Fort Collins 2. So it's just sort of this narrow strip there in the higher elevation. You know, when you're 5,000 feet up and you still have to refer to higher elevations, you're pretty high. You're pretty high up.
Yes. Good Lord. I mean, here, the high elevations for us would be like up in Sullivan County, 2,000, maybe 2,500. High Point in the northwest corner of New Jersey, about 1,800 feet. And here, you just mentioned 5,000 feet. That's that's not here. That's like being on the moon.
Yes, pretty much. All right, so we've got this low in the southeast at the moment that is going to move northeast, and it looks like it gets far enough north to bring in some rain in eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England tomorrow into tomorrow evening, and a little low develops there. So of course now at the last minute, the model has the low just south of Montauk and just east of Atlantic City by Thursday evening. But you know what? It moves along. And in the meantime, if you look in the southwest with what's going on in Colorado, you've got a low that drops down into Texas and moves into Oklahoma. So this is going to be the severe weather trigger that we're seeing in those outlooks. There's a 99 low in eastern Oklahoma early Friday morning, while offshore southeast of Cape Cod, there's a 1,005 low that's pulling out. So you got that dry area in between, which sets up nicely for the northeast and mid-Atlantic states on Friday. And there's your low on Friday morning in southwestern Missouri with some snow in Iowa and southern Wisconsin. Just a narrow band of it because there's not really a whole lot of cold air. And then the low runs up to the northeast into the lakes, kind of stretches out into upstate New York and New England on Saturday. So we'll probably see some rounds of showers late during Friday night into Saturday morning, and then maybe again later in the day on Saturday as the low moves to Toronto and then hustles along. It's going to be rain even all the way up into northern New England, even changes over to rain in Caribou for a short time, and then that low moves out. We get some improvement on Sunday, although I guess you don't want to throw out the possibility that there could be some clouds and a stray shower. And then going into next week, we've got another low. Now this is where we start to get into those risk areas that are in the long range. There's a fairly deep low, a 96 low in New Mexico that fires up, gets down to a 990, Joe, near Lubbock in Texas, and the GFS is pretty bullish with at least with rainfall amounts in East Texas and up into Oklahoma. So some of that area is going to be covered under that long-range severe weather risk, and you can see why, because you're going to have some kind of deep trough there and a deep surface low that develops. Meanwhile, got a cold high near James Bay that tries to neck in early next week, and then that low goes up to Illinois, starts to weaken, warm front to the coast, more rain, maybe some snow and ice in central and northern New England with that. And after that, Joe, it does look a little colder overall. I mean, I know the model's doing some silly things with some of this colder air that's coming down, but it does look like some colder air comes in toward the end of the month and to kick off the month of April. Oh, in fact, look at this. Write it down, Joe. There's a low on the 312 hour on Tuesday, March 29th. There's a 1,005 low at Cape Hatteras with snow from central Virginia to southern New England. Write it down because it's
Well,
it's it's
well, May
definitely
29th,
March
May
29th.
29th in
March
March 20,
29th.
excuse me, why am I thinking of May? March 29th, in 1970, it was Easter Sunday, and we had 4 inches in the city, and north of the city, there was like 8 and 10 and 12 inches of snow, the snowiest Easter on record. So, it's not out of the question. We have seen, at least in your lifetime and in my lifetime, significant snowfall coming as late as the end of March. So heck, I mean, we had a blizzard here in early April, the 6th of April in 1982. So don't close the book on the snow possibility just yet. We've been saying that once it gets past St. Patrick's Day, which will be tomorrow, once you get past March the 17th, while snow is still theoretically possible, the odds of a significant snow drop noticeably with each passing day thereafter. So you're in the home stretch, snow lovers, and maybe, just maybe, if that 300 and some odd hour prog is anywhere near correct, you'll get maybe one more shot, one more swing in the batting cage at the end of the month, March 29th. And I believe, Joe, after the 29th, there's yet another storm. I think you jumped to the 10 millibar a
Yeah.
little too quickly. I think behind that May 29th storm, there's yet another, and maybe even a more prolific snow and rainmaker
You
at
can
the end of the month on the 31st.
You could see the snow fans on the chat board right now are drooling as we speak. Well, look, here's the thing.
Yeah.
You're going to have the EPO, the East Pacific Oscillation, is going to go sharply negative toward the end of the month. And you can always tell that whenever you see a cold high move over into Canada and that cold air just basically spreads out from east to west, that's a signature of a negative East Pacific Oscillation. What I wanted to look at too was the fact that we've on and off been talking about what's been going on with the polar vortex, and of course we're at the time of year now where the polar vortex that is sitting in Siberia at the moment is splitting, and in fact it's going to be splitting. Well, today's Wednesday, so the split's underway right now because by the time here's Thursday morning, and it's split in two. You've got one center in the northern Hudson Bay. You've got another center that drops southward through Siberia, and it's a full split here. It's a fairly vigorous split. The vortex on it's a 2980. I'm trying to see what the numbers are on this side. 3080, 3060, 3020, 3040, 3020, 3020. It's actually the vortex that's on the North America side is a little bit stronger than the vortex that's on the Siberia side. Now,
Yeah.
granted, it's splitting, and the thing is, if this were a month ago, if this were February 20th where it was splitting, and splitting with as vigorously as it is, then you would look ahead to March, and March could have turned out to be a very interesting month overall, because when we had back in 2018, the split happened in mid-February, and that set up the rather incredible stretch of weather that we had during the month of March. But here we are now on March 20th, which timing-wise, if you get a split it, you give it about 10 days to 2 weeks to play out in the low levels. Well, it's kind of obvious why the models are doing what they're doing. The thing is that the polar vortex is in the process of being destroyed. So as we roll through time, both the vortex that's on the North America side splits and drops down into the Ohio Valley, and the one in Siberia begins to weaken as well, and you got a big upper high that starts to move into its spring-summer position, which would be up in the Arctic region. It's very interesting here. Uh, that the remnants of that polar vortex that comes down in North America, Joe, moves southwestward into Kansas and Oklahoma, and migrates westward as it weakens. That's again, it's going into April here, so it's hard to get worked up
Well, the last time we
for a
saw
snow lover
last
from
time we saw
this.
the split, last time we saw the split like this, and you said if we were a month earlier in February, that was the signal for what turned out to be the month of March, the 4 Easter month, right?
Right,
We had the 4 Nor'easters,
correct.
and yeah. This is not to say that even though it's splitting now in mid or late March. I mean, when we get into April, in fact, at one time, I dug this up out of an old David Ludlam book. David Ludlam proclaimed that, according to the National Weather Service, that the month of April, at least from a standpoint of in the contiguous United States, is the stormiest month of the year. That may be taking into account not just coastal storms, but also developing severe weather outbreaks and tornadoes or whatever. But still, that could spell a very active, as you just pointed out, a very active April. And who's to say that maybe if we had a shot of cold air coming down when a potential storm was starting to wind up, so to speak, that we might just have a significant snowfall in April.
Yeah,
Nothing can be taken off the table just yet.
no, but as hard as it is, especially for coastal areas to set up for snow during the regular winter season, it's especially difficult when you get into the latter part of those seasons and you start to move into the real spring months. And it's got to be an absolutely perfect setup. Now I'm looking. I just have just pulled up the 500 millibar, and the 500 millibar. If this is a cold 500 millibar look with the flow. As you always, I always like to say, you follow the flow, and if you follow those height lines, our air is going to be coming down from northern Canada and the Arctic regions into the eastern part of the United States. If this winds up verifying, you've got a ridge that builds up in the west. You've got a trough, nice trough off the coast off the west coast to fire up that ridge. So I imagine the Pacific North America index is likely to go positive, or at the very least go back to neutral. There's no blocking to speak of at the mid levels of the atmosphere. There's a little bit of the Scandinavian block pushing into Greenland around the 26th, 27th, but then it gets overwhelmed by this vortex that forms in eastern Canada. So, it has to be perfect. It would have to be perfect. You'd have to get a solid shot of cold air to come in, and you also are going to need a very solid looking shortwave trough that comes down and energizes all of this. So you're asking an awful, for those of you who are looking at this and saying, wow, that's very interesting, and maybe we could have one last gasp. Well, it's a big maybe. You have to have everything perfect. That was the 12Z run. I just punched over to the 18Z. Just wanted to take a look at this, see what the 18Z has, because the 18Z is a little more blocky looking in Greenland and points east. It's trying. This has probably got a bit more of a bit less positive, or maybe even a neutral NAO signature to it going into the end of March and the beginning of April. But it also still has a rather cold look for the first part of the month of April if this were to verify.
I just want to address something that's on the chat board right now. Jason Schaefer has put up on the chat board. He's saying News 12 has a 12-hour day tomorrow, according to the sunrise sunset times. Now, you may say to yourself, how is that possible? Because it's not until this weekend, not until Sunday, that we have the equinox, the vernal equinox, when purportedly day and night are equal, which is why we call it the equinox. And so Jason is probably looking at this and saying, News 12 made a silly error because they have 12-hour day tomorrow, and it should be really for Sunday. But actually, Jason and everybody, it is a 12-hour day on the equinox If we did not have an atmosphere, then we would indeed have equal day and equal nights
Well,
on
if we didn't have
worldwide on Sunday.
if we didn't
And
have
if
an
we didn't have an
atmosphere,
atmosphere,
we wouldn't be having this
why would
conversation. So
exactly? Why would we even make the conversation? But I'm saying that because of the fact that we have an atmosphere. When the sun is coming up, the atmosphere acts like a lens. It refracts or bends the light rays of the sun so that the sun's rays are actually bent to a point above the horizon. And the same holds true when the sun is setting. After the sun has set, we still see the sun because again, refraction of light is causing the sun to appear as if it's still above the horizon, when really, from a geometric point of view, it is not. And so the atmosphere is responsible for, in other words, when you see the sun coming up and when you see the sun in the morning literally sitting on the horizon, what you're looking at is an optical illusion. The sun really is not there. The sun is still below the horizon, but what you're seeing is the atmosphere bending the light rays of the sun from below the horizon to make it appear as if it's above the horizon. Similarly, when the sun has gone down below the horizon, it looks to us like it's sitting on the horizon. Again, the light rays are doing their thing. The atmosphere is doing their thing, interacting with the atmosphere, causing the sun. So, in other words, thanks to our atmosphere, Joe, we are actually seeing the amount of daylight lengthened by about 3 minutes in the morning, and again about 3 more minutes in the evening as the sun is coming up and as the sun is going down. So, really, because of that, today, were it not for the atmosphere, today, the actual length of daylight would be about 11 hours and 54 minutes, somewhat less, slightly less than a full 12 hours. But because of that optical illusion, because the light rays are being bent above the horizon by the atmosphere, and we're seeing it for a few minutes extra in the morning, and still considering to see it a few minutes extra in the evening after the sun is really set, tomorrow will be lengthened by about 5 or 6 minutes and will be the day when night and day are equal, 12 hours. That's why we have that situation. Same thing in the fall. In the fall, the actual day when the sunrise and sunset times are allowing for equal days and equal nights, 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night, comes not on the 23rd, which is the first day of fall, but more like the 26th or 27th of September. So it's an interesting little thing. And of course, the atmosphere plays tricks with that sun as it comes up sometimes. Sometimes the atmosphere is so unstable, especially when you have, let's say, an inversion, that instead of the sun coming up as a big full circle, it'll come up like a flattened disk, or even a disk that's rippling, if you will. It's all again due to the illusion of caused by the atmosphere, again bending those light rays. And so that's why, Jason, you're absolutely correct. On St. Patrick's Day, that is the real day of equal days and equal nights. And again, we have to wait now 3 more days for the actual equinox. But by the time we get to the equinox, Joe, interestingly, the days will not be equal. At least here in New York, it won't be equal. It'll be 12 hours and about 5 or 6 minutes long. It'll be actually a little bit longer for daylight as opposed to nighttime. Anyway, I just wanted to.
And Dennis Cassia says, and here I thought it was due to daylight saving time. To quote the honeymooners, don't be a Weisenheimer, Cassia. Actually, you've stolen my heart for being a bit of a Weisenheimer. I like that.
There's one of the funny things in the honeymooners is the episode where Ralph and Norton take the wrong train to the convention.
Yes,
they're supposed to be going to Minneapolis. They end up going to Norfolk, Virginia instead. But early in that episode, when Ralph comes into his house, Norton is already there, and he's leaning out the window with his wristwatch, and he's saying, "Can I ask what you're doing?" He said, "Hold on for 1 second." And he's adjusting the wristwatch, and Ralph says, "You mean to tell me that you can tell the time by just looking at the sun?" He says, "What do you mean looking at the sun? I set my watch by the Chinese restaurant." And the aroma of various, foods that are being cooked by the Chinese restaurant right outside of the window. He said, "Well, Moo Goo Gai Pan takes 384 seconds to reach my." But the thing that blows my mind every time in that episode is late in the episode when they're on the train and they're trying to figure out what time it is because the watch, Norton's watch is not correct. He calls the conductor over, and the thing he asks the conductor is, "Excuse me, do you have any Chinese restaurants here on this train?"
Christina Pedia said, just letting me know that she started watching Mrs. Maisel. She's on episode 5 in season 1. Not a bad show. No, it's actually quite good. And when you get into season 2 and 3, uh, there's some very funny moments along the way. I got to commend the writers of that show. And I love the fact that because it's set in the late 50s, early 60s, and you see the clothes, the cars, everything that was. I think they do a pretty good job of bringing back that late 50s, early 60s look with the sets and the and what the actors are wearing. I really enjoy that part of it quite a bit. But have fun with the show because it is very good. I just finished yesterday. I binge watched season 4. So anyway, let's move to Briller Jeopardy because I know it's my turn to answer the questions, Mr. Rayo.
Yes, and I'm getting it right now. I am getting it as I speak to you now.
Yeah.
And Scott says, first of all, on the message he sent to me, he says, first, great job on Briller Jeopardy last night. I forgot to tell you, says Scott, this is for me now, that your prize was an invitation to the Costanza Festivus party next December. And since Mr. Chiaffi did so well with Hitchcock Briller Jeopardy, it is now time for Volume 2. So this is it, Joe. This is Hitchcock Jeopardy for
All
tonight.
right.
And question number 1. Which Hitchcock movie had the tagline, "The Master of Suspense presents a 3,000-mile chase across America"?
North by Northwest.
North by Northwest, right. You've got it.
One
For
of my
$100.
favorites, by the way.
And now for the $200 question. What 1958 Hitchcock movie, which was rated 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, starred Kim Novak and Jimmy Stewart?
Oh, Vertigo.
Vertigo. Correct for $200. Now the $300 question, Joe.
Oh, by the way, before you ask that question, with respect to Vertigo, I had to watch.
Yes.
For anyone who hasn't seen the movie, there is so much. For years, the number of people that, oh, Vertigo, what a great movie. And I have to tell you, the first time I watched it, actually probably the first 5 times I watched it, I did not like it at all. Okay. But I kept watching it over and over, and by the time I got to the 10th or 11th time, I really do like. I think it's a great movie. It's just the problem with
How?
Vertigo. The problem with Vertigo is, Joe, is that there is so much going on at so many different levels that your brain just can't absorb it. Okay, there's stuff. There's what you see, and then all the site the what's the word I'm looking for? There's the stuff that you see that's right in front of you. So you see what literally is going on, but there's so much going on emotionally, psychologically. It's pretty intense stuff, and I think you have to watch the movie at least 3 or 4 times to just get to absorb it all. It's an incredibly complex movie. So anyway, I'm a big fan of it. But go on. I'm sorry. Now go to the next one.
Can I ask a question? How could you not like the movie that has Kim Novak in it?
No.
I don't think I'd even be watching.
Well,
I mean, I know for the first of four times,
because it was Hitchcock, and I really love Hitchcock movies. I had to give it at least a second chance or a third chance. But again, it's once I watched it the third or fourth time, and I started to see all that was really going on. I really grew to appreciate what a classic. And even when Vertigo first came out, it was not well received. It was not really well received by the public because it was different than some of his other movies. So those but as the years have gone by, it's grown. It's grown to be listed as among his best, and I would agree with that. But yeah, Kim Novak was something else in that movie. Anyway,
Well, the only other Kim Novak movie I enjoyed was Picnic.
oh
But she
yes,
dyed her hair. She
with
dyed her hair red.
yes, with
I couldn't get.
Rosalind Russell. Did you just have to switch microphones?
Yes, I just changed microphones for a moment.
Okay.
That's
All right, so go to the next question.
okay. Here we go. So now we're going for the $500 question, Joe. And here it is. What does Norman serve Marion for dinner in Psycho?
Oh God, good question. Hmm. Oh God, was it fried chicken?
No.
I don't remember. That I don't remember.
Sandwiches and milk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I wasn't. I wasn't paying as close attention to Psycho as I probably should have been.
All right. So here's question number 4 for $1,000, Joe. What is Frenzy rated?
What's it rated?
Yes. What is the rating for Frenzy?
I would think at the time it was probably rated R.
Rated R. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
I mean,
So now
today
we're above
by today's standards it would have been G, but
PG, probably
or
PG
PG
13.
13.
Well, now, Joe, that we've reached the $1,000 plateau and we're going now for 5,000 on the Briller Jeopardy list here, we need to have some appropriate music for you to build the drama, to build the excitement. So we're going to have that appropriate music come up here right about now.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear that?
I can.
Okay. Here's question 5, Joe. What Hitchcock movie was supposed to look like a single unedited shot?
Oh, well, there's a couple of them that were like that. There was Rear Window, which was sort of like a single unedited shot, um, and done with one camera coming out of Jimmy Stewart's Greenwich Village apartment. But there was also Rope, which precedes Rear Window, that was shot the same way.
All right, well, I'm going to ask you now, is Rope your final answer?
Well, Rope was the first one that he did that was a single shot. But I think in 1950 or 51, and then Rear Window was in 54. So I would, I'll say Rope because it came first.
And you are right. Congratulations, you're right, Joe. You win $5,000. See, I'm mixing up Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Jeopardy here tonight. Now we're going for the $10,000 question. And here it comes. What movie featured a photographer with a broken leg?
Well, that was Rear Window.
And that is it. You got it. Rear
but
Window.
you know what?
10,000.
I don't care. Kim Novak. Okay, yeah, I get it. She's very good looking, but I'm sorry, nothing beats Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly
That's right.
Grace Kelly in Rear Window, and she was probably every bit of 24, 25. I have pictures I snapshotted on my phone from some of the scenes where they're close-ups of her. She was stunning. What a beautiful woman Grace Kelly was.
You remember that line in The Honeymooners when when Norton was talking about some of the great cooks,
Mm-hmm.
and he mentioned a few chefs, and then he said Grace Kelly's father, and Ralph says, "What do you mean Grace Kelly's father?" He says, "He certainly cooked up a great dish."
Yeah, I know. Grace Kelly. Oh my God. In Rear Window, Hitchcock does some incredibly whoever the cameraman was, it's some of the camera work and the lighting, stunning, just absolutely stunning. And she's wearing these beautiful clothes that just, they're gorgeous, and on her they look insanely gorgeous. Oh, I love her. I love Grace Kelly.
Okay. We're up to $50,000 here in Thriller Jeopardy Millionaire Question. Number 7. Here it is, Joe. Number 7 now, coming up. What Hitchcock movie starred Jimmy Stewart and Doris Day playing a Midwestern
Oh,
couple?
the Man Who Knew Too Much, which was the
Okay,
second time that
got it right.
the Hitchcock originally made that in the 1930s. With I believe Peter Lorre was in that in the original. And I've the original one I've only seen once, but the Man Who Knew Too Much is a there's a the suspense scene in there lasts 12 minutes, okay, and it's a really it's very suspenseful. So I really don't want to give too much away, but the thing is, Hitchcock was great at letting you know what was going to happen, because it wasn't about the crime or seeing somebody being murdered and all the rest of it. It's knowing that something was going to happen and just watching and waiting and waiting and waiting for it to happen. And in this particular case, you know what's going to happen, and he makes you wait like 12 minutes to sit through, and it while an orchestra is playing, and I'll just leave it at that. The Man Who Knew Too Much.
This one is going to be an easy one for you. It's our $500,000 question, Joe. This
Would
one
be.
even I know.
You know what? If
if
that were really a $500,000 question, and the last one was, let's say, $100,000 question, I probably would tell you I'm just taking the money and going home. But go ahead.
Oh, really? Well, here's the $500,000. You could, and by the way, you could ask the audience. But number 8, question 8. This again is a throwaway question. Who played the school teacher in The Birds?
Oh, Suzanne Plachette.
Yes, Mrs. Hartley from the Bob Newhart show.
Yes, Suzanne Plachette.
How about now? This is the one for $750,000, $750,000, Joe. And here you go. What was unusual about the music in Hitchcock's The Birds?
What was unusual about the music in Hitchcock's The Birds? I don't
Correct.
even. I don't recall that there was music in The Birds.
And you know what? You're right. There was no music score in The Birds. So now we're up to the $1 million question. Joe, here it is for $1 million. If you lose this, if you guess wrong on this one, you lose $468,000 and go back to $30,000 on the $36,000. Here we go with the $1 million question. Where does Leela work in Hitchcock's movie Psycho? Where does Leela work in the movie Psycho? Or is it Lila?
Lila.
Lila or Leela?
Yeah, wasn't it like? Well, they were moving a lot of money. It wasn't a bank so much. Wasn't it like a check cashing place of some kind?
So you have an answer, or?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know how to describe her. I could see her in the office where she was working, and she had to take a ton of money to the bank. But I don't think. But she didn't work for a bank. But I don't recall exactly.
She worked for a music store.
Oh, okay. It was a music store.
Now we have 2 bonus questions. We have 2 bonus questions, Joe.
Okay.
You may be able to regain some credit here on this.
What kind of wait, before you do it? What is that music from?
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Oh, okay. Good. Well, now that we can get a letter from them saying not to use the music.
Well, the show's not on the air anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, we may not be on the air anymore. If
All right. So all right. For that potential problem, we are stopping the music on
okay, thank you.
that. So
Go
there you
ahead.
go. Did it add a little bit of drama though? A little bit of. Did it
Yes,
make you feel like you
with
wrapped?
with an emphasis on little, but go on.
Bonus question 1. What was Alfred Hitchcock's original career goal? What did he want to be? Did he want to be, this is a multiple choice now,
Okay.
did he want to be A, a mortician, B, a bartender, C, a psychiatrist, D, a meteorologist, or E, an electrical engineer?
Well, you know it wasn't D, so. Oh God. Give me the 4 choices without the weather choice.
A, mortician, B, bartender, C, psychiatrist, or E, electrical engineer?
You know, I could see him being either the bartender. The mortician answer's a little too obvious. He'd be a scary looking mortician. So I'm thinking that's think about it, with his build. The bartender, he could physically, I think it could work. I'm going to say electrical engineer.
You know what, Joe? You're absolutely right. He aspired to be an electrical engineer.
And I say
Now,
that because he had this the way he directed his movies was with absolute precision. He left nothing to chance. He was very exact. Everything had to be precise. He would storyboard the entire movie, and nothing was changed. The actors had to follow the script exactly. And that's how he always did it. So it sort of made sense to me that he'd want to be an engineer, somebody who would want to calculate things and have things exactly come out exactly correct. So okay, that worked.
it came out to be 362 joules.
Yes, exactly.
Bonus question number 2, the final question of the night. What is the only song from a Hitchcock film to win an Oscar for Best Song? Was it A, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head? B, was it The Monster Mash? Or C, Que Sera, Sera?
Well, Que Sera Sera
Whatever.
is from Que Sera Sera is from The Man Who Knew Too Much. So there was yeah, I'd probably go with that one. Que Sera Sera.
And there you go. That's it. You
Yeah.
got it. Que Sera, Sera.
Yeah, it couldn't have been Raindrops. Although for some reason in the back of my mind, there's sort of like I don't know if there's a connection between somebody who wrote that song, who also wrote something else that was in the Hitchcock movie. I could be totally wrong, but Que Sera Sera was the one. Okay, well, that leaves me wanting for drooling to watch a Hitchcock movie. So I'll have to see. I don't think there's anything like that on Turner. So not tonight anyway.
There's one thing I had not had in a couple of nights. I'm going to have it tonight, even though it was a relatively mild day. There's some luscious, delicious hot chocolate that goes into this little machine that Renata bought. It comes in a little cup, and you stick the cup in and turn it on, and off it goes. I think I'm going to have that after a little while this evening.
All right. Well,
But
you know what?
I have to.
You got your 8 o'clock thing tonight, right?
Correct.
Well, it's 8 o'clock now,
So,
so I think we should say goodbye.
Goodbye for now. We'll also be doing this again next Wednesday, because next Wednesday I have to give a talk for a club on Long Island, but I'm going to attend a virtual talk right now.
Okay.
But
so,
I thank you, Joe.
All right.
And I will see everybody at the regular time tomorrow night at 7:30, when we might be able to drool over the 375-hour Prague and hope that something amazing happens.
Nighty night, everybody.